What's going on, guys? Today we're checking out Gear.Club Unlimited 2. Now, this is a game that's published by Microids and developed by Eden Games, came out December 4th, and it has a weird issue with its pricing because from what I can tell, it's cheaper physically than it is digitally. So physically, it's $49.99. Digitally, it's $59.99 from what I've seen. I don't know if there was a weird thing with pricing there or whatnot, but I've been playing it a bit, and I kind of wanted to go over my impressions from checking it out. And I played the first one when it came out, and it was sent over, this one as well, by Microids for me to check out. And I've been kind of racing around and checking out the game, and there were a few key points that I really was curious about in the game. And some of the stuff that I was hoping would have been fixed really hasn't been. And when I looked at the first one, I said, okay, this is obviously a first shot at moving generally their cell phone game over to the Switch, and a lot of that had to do with there being no simulation racing game that used actual cars. So we have Mario Kart, of course, on the Switch, but there's no Forza, there's no Gran Turismo style game, and I think that's really what Microids and Eden Games wanted to try to kind of fill in the gap for. Unfortunately, they have not done that yet. And again, I'm going to talk to you about this a bit. If you played the first one or saw the video I did last year about the first one, it does play a bit like a simulation game to where it almost feels a little too much like a cell phone game at times. Now, there's no microtransactions, nothing like that, but you have like a home base. It's your performance center, and when you go in here, you can actually move your car around the actual grids and work on it and everything. It starts you off with a Mini Cooper, and I've also bought I think, an Elise, and a lot of it has to do with you collecting cars. There's 51 cars in this game. They're all name brand cars that exist in real life that you probably, if you're into cars, you've probably recognized a lot of these. So that's one big plus with most games now out there on the Switch, is this actually deals with real cars. So here's this is actually the Elise that I picked up, 220. And you do go around. I do like that, of course, you can still open up your car. You can kind of look in there and everything. And that's something that I liked in Gran Turismo and Forza as well, as you kind of have like your showcase mode and check it out and everything. Let me back out of here and go check out. My Mini Cooper was getting worked on at the time, whereas here it is. I was doing some rally stuff, so I was actually working on the different parts of it where you can upgrade suspension, you can upgrade. So like, for example, here's the suspension. Let's upgrade it, since I believe I'm still doing rally races, so we're gonna hit that, and it's gonna, I spent $5,000 on new shocks, I guess, there we go, or suspension, and you upgrade them as you go. You work on your engine, you work on your tires. Here's tires for better grip. Let me see, yeah, let's spend some money on these tires, level 3, for better grip and traction when I'm racing around, and we'll also race around. So you do get to work on your cars, but this reminds me basically of what I did with the first game. You pick your car up and you kind of move it around, you upgrade your different workshops. So from like a mild RPG element side, yes, that is there. But again, this is basically what I would do with the first game. So they didn't really do a ton to make this part feel any different. In fact, if I went back and played the first one with that part, it would still feel like the first one. So why don't we actually get into a race and see how that does. Okay, so we're loading up Mud Canyon Pass, and it'll give me a good chance to talk a bit about some of the load times. It's something that really sticks out to me with this game is the load times sometimes can take a while. Like when I'm talking about seconds sometimes I'm talking about like minutes. It almost like it depends on the race that's being loaded up and maybe even the car that you're using. It's hard to say, but there have been times where I was sitting at this loading menu and it's like stuck at 95% for a while, and then there are other times where it's much faster. It's really weird. Like I thought at one point the thing was just frozen, like it was stuck, like the wheel wasn't turning or anything. It sat there for like 30 seconds and then finally started turning again. So the load times are just insane sometimes in this game. It's something to realize. So we're still sitting here. Again, it sits at 95% for quite a while, and it really does kind of builds and builds and builds to where you feel like you're in a load screen more than the actual race at times. So I guess we'll sit here and wait. Okay, 100%. Okay, all right, there we go. That one was actually a bit faster than some of the other ones. Okay, so we're in the race here. They have improved the graphics, but only so slight. And the one thing that I really wanted them to improve was the frame rate, because when they sent over the PR stuff things, they always talk about it being the Forza for the Switch. here's the thing. In its idea, with actual cars and everything, yeah, I guess you could say that, but in performance, it's not even close. Even the Forza Horizon series, which was 30 frames, I'll admit that it was, 4 is uncapped, or even 60 frames per second mode if you have the Xbox One X. This game, I guess, is supposed to run at 30 frames, and it struggles. It does. It has a hard time, and this is one of those games, along with a fighting game, for example, or even a shooter, is one of those type of games where you can really feel the frames when they drop. Like, you can really feel it. It seems to be when I go around a bend, or if a bunch of cars kind of show up around me, I can definitely feel the frame rate really dipping down. Now, we have our little driver assist line that you usually have, that I recognize from Forza in particular. I think they had that in Gran Turismo now as well. I play more Forza than Gran Turismo. Forza Horizon 4 is an outstanding game, but this is basically the one choice you have on the Switch if that's your primary system and you want a simulation racing game, and that guy just crashed me. Okay, look, we also have rewind, so I'll use that now since that guy we just collided. You also have a rewind feature, 3, 2, 1, it counts down, and that will let you essentially back up and redo a section if something happens. And they've added that into things like Forza, so this isn't exactly new. But I do know people see that as cheating at times. There's also a ton of driver assist stuff in this game. Like, I mean, an insane amount, to where it's very easy to turn around. I like to turn a lot of that stuff off if I can, because it almost feels like the game is kind of driving itself. But I look at this game and I see potential. I saw potential last year with this game, but they're asking full price. You know, I mean, I guess physically it's 50, but still, it's a lot. And I just don't see them improving this this series as much. I mean, going from Gear Club 1 to Gear Club 2, I was hoping meant they would have an extra year to maybe work on performance, for example, and they really haven't. It might have gotten worse, to be honest. And that might be because they tried to improve the visual style a bit. They added in a career mode that's mostly dialogue boxes with races going on. So it's not like the... and I crashed. It's not like there's like a crazy story with cutscenes or anything. It's mostly dialogue boxes pop up. You're a test driver that had to get thrown in at the last minute, and you happen to be good, and you're winning. And that's kind of it. The online multiplayer is not there yet. It wasn't there at launch. There was a day one patch that added local multiplayer. It does have split screen up to 4, so that's cool. But there's still no online multiplayer. It's still coming soon. And in the details they sent over, it says in the next couple of weeks, it will be available. So we're going to be waiting a little bit for the online multiplayer, which is kind of a shame. I would like to see that at launch, but I mean, I guess they'll have it there eventually. So we'll see about that. Those are like actual synchronous races, so you against other people. And then they also have like kind of the ghost racing, I believe, where you race against people's best times, and that's kind of where we are with this game right this second. There's a full single-player mode campaign that has you collecting and upgrading cars, which, if you're a big fan of like upgrading your cars and doing simulation racing, it's good. I would like to recommend this game if the performance was better, because the whole point is to be able to play the game, and it's kind of hard to do that when the frame rate is just it's not good. So I'm hoping that they do Gear Club Unlimited 3, and that they get the frame rate down pat. Like, you can even tone back some of the visuals, some of the lighting. If you can just get that locked 30 with no issues, then I'm like, okay, if you can get 60, that's great. But I played Forza Horizon at 30, and it was very, very stable, and I can live with that if that's the compromise they have to make. So that's my biggest issue with this game, is that the performance isn't there. 51 cars, that's not as much as the competition, obviously, but I'm sure there's also licensing and other things you have to get around, and they're not as big as, obviously, like Playground or Turn 10 or anything like that. So I know there's a limit, and they also have different environments. So they kind of have like desert area, like mountainsides, racing around in snow at times, and that's good, but it doesn't feel that different. It's hard to describe. That's the thing about racing games. You have to kind of play it and get a feel for it yourself, but they don't feel that different. Like, I played Forza Horizon 4, of course, it feels different. I know it's a bigger budget game and everything, but I think I think they can do better with this game, this series, and I'd like to see it evolve a bit more. It's just, my issue with this game, if I really had to just break it down, is that it feels too much like the first game still. It's almost like going from Madden 17 to Madden 18 or whatever, you know? It's like going an extra year in sports, and it just doesn't feel like they made a lot of improvements or breakthroughs. If this went to being like a bi-yearly series where every 2 years new one came out and that gave them the time to change things up drastically, do some cool stuff, I think that would do them some good. So as it stands now, I'm hesitant on recommending this game as a purchase unless you absolutely want a simulation racing experience on your Switch, because there's honestly no real other options. Like, maybe you're like, oh, Mario Kart's fun, it's arcadey, but I want real cars that exist and I want to be able to upgrade them like a Gran Turismo. I guess this is it. This is what you have. But if you didn't get the first one and you're looking at this one, then it won't feel, I guess, as bad to buy in, especially if you didn't experience that one. But if you bought the first one, keep playing the first one. That's all I can tell you, because I just don't see enough improvement here to justify throwing down another $50 to $60. That guy crashed me. Or I crashed into him and then he threw me into the wall. But thanks, guys, for watching. Let me know what you think about Gear Club Unlimited 2, your thoughts on it if you've already purchased it, or what you think about the game and what you're seeing here. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. And as always, guys, like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not. And I'll see you guys in the next video.